Hello, everybody. Welcome to another RAECO Rents training video. This will be a quick tip, just maybe 5 minutes or so, about splitting up data on an edge dosimeter. So you may have run into this before. Could be somebody who's messing around with the dosimeter on their lunch break, or maybe you've got several sets of data on the dosimeter over the course of a few days. This video is going to show you 2 different ways to split up that data easily. So the first way, probably the more common one, we'll go to the download tab here. Okay, so I'm going to skip this part. I'm going to talk about this part in the next set of, or I guess the next section, we'll call it. So this is what you've probably seen before. If we expand this out, you've got multiple studies here. So in this case, let's say we just want data from study 1. You can't just click on this and analyze it or double click it. What it's going to do is it's going to pull up all the combined data. So we can tell this log data chart here has 2 different sets with a big gap. See April 4th and April 18th. So obviously this can't be used in a report, right? Same thing in the information panel. You know, you've got a start time on April 3rd, a stop time on April 17th. Doesn't make much sense. So what we need to do is load the data that's specific to the study that we want the data for. So in this case, let's say, clearly this is it. You know, I've got almost 8 hours of data. So if we want to get everything specific to study 1, and you can tell this too based on how the panels are labeled. So here we actually have a study 1 log data chart and a study 1 data panel and information panel. So sometimes it populates like that, other times it doesn't, but the best way to do it is to get rid of everything, highlight the study, and produce these panels. So if you're not familiar with this part, all we're doing is just double clicking on the panel. From there, we can configure what we want to include or exclude from the panel. And that's all up to you. And we can go back to it using this configure button as well. But we'll load up the typical panels here, which are the summary data panel, the information panel, and the log data chart. Again, we've got 3 different meters of data. We can include those if we want. But for the sake of the demo, we'll just keep it simple here. Okay, so now, as you can see, everything is specific to that study 1. So I can do the same thing with study 2 if I want. And again, we have specific to study 2 information, but we'll take that out. So once we have all that, everything makes sense, right? We can go to our report view. Something to note about this method, which you can kind of tell from the data finder, is how these are titled. So here is kind of the comprehensive data file that includes everything, and that has the serial number shown on it. Whereas everything else that we produced specific to the studies does not, just says study 1 log data chart. So if that's a problem for you, you can add or update customizations from this window over here. Just go to the report section and you can edit this however you want. So I could put in my serial number, whatever it was, but ESV 100295. So I can add that to the report. And that kind of helps to just clean everything up a bit. So that is one way to do it. The other way, I'll just delete all this data here real quick. The other way does require you to change a setting on the software. And so we're going to go into configure preferences and then miscellaneous. So this is probably checked in your software. If you're if you're familiar with what I just showed you, you probably have this checked. So if we uncheck this, it's going to give us the option to distribute these into different sessions. So again, if I go and download here, let's refresh our page. Here's our dosimeter. We'll download again. All right, so here's the fun part. So let's assume that this is 3 different studies, all of which are 8-hour samples that we need to produce separate reports for. So what we need to do is add a session. And we're going to distribute these studies into each session. So now we have 3 studies, 3 sessions. Everything is going to come in to the software separately now. And you can see everything is labeled by the serial number. We have our different run times and all that, but now it's as simple as just selecting it. Again, you can configure these panels however you wish. If you have a template, you can use that. We do have a nice template that we use, kind of includes all the data. So separates this out by meter 1 data, meter 2, and meter 3. 1, 2, and 3 gets the calibration history too. So that's another part of DMS that you can play around with, and just makes the reporting easier. So that is it. So those are the 2 ways to split up the data on your edges. Like I said, one way is a little bit more common, but more difficult. Other way is easier, just requires a quick change in the settings. And that is everything. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call, 866-736-8347, and check out the other training videos on our website in the training center. Thanks.